The truth is both political parties have splits, but it's much more apparent in the Republican Party. And I would argue that part of it goes back to when the South slowly moved out of the Democratic Party into the Republican Party and became a dominant player. That automatically gave us a more rural and southern touch. Then you get the further splintering going to the right. And what you'll notice is the moderates have long left the Republican Party. That's not a new thing. It's just a question of degrees. Now the old conservative wing is under attack. John McCain was under attack in Arizona. He was just the standard bearer for the party a couple of years ago. Likewise, Senator Bennett in Utah, one of the most conservative members of the Senate. He was ousted from the Republican Party on the grounds that he collaborated with Democrats. I mean, that's astounding. Barry Goldwater, who was the conservative standard bearer in 1964, but the great spokesman for the conservative movement of the Republican Party and the godfather of Ronald Reagan, was no longer welcome in the Republican Party. So as you go more to the right and get more ideological, you start slicing off. Now Lindsey Graham of South Carolina is under fire. And tonight we have elections in various states that will identify whether the Tea Party is going to throw out more normal Republicans. So as a Republican moderate, we've had years of being unwelcome in the Republican Party. And it's a bit hypocritical for the official party to say, gee, you're a traitor. No, my belief system, my core belief system is the same. Their core belief system has changed. They've gone much more into the bedroom and away from the budget. And that's one of the reasons you don't see balanced budgets anymore. They used to be very good. You could always count on a Republican to be fiscally conservative, and that meant a balanced budget. Now you can't.
What ultimately will happen to the Republican Party? I mean, is there any return?
That's a very fair question. I truthfully don't know, and I mean that most sincerely. It may have to play out. It truly may have to play out. Because at some point, they have to start to identify what they're for. And I think the electronic media, through this whole subsystem of the internet, has allowed a lot of recklessness with accuracy and truth to occur. A lot more demonization of people than we've ever seen before. But if, let's say Republicans take control of the House of Representatives in Congress, all of a sudden they're going to have to start talking about what they are for. That'd be an interesting development.
Were you to start out in politics again today, and I know that you have no plans to do that.
No, you're right. Where would I start?
Where would you be? What would you call
Well, I was, that's an oddity. I was originally a Republican as a kid. I loved Fiorello LaGuardia, the mayor of New York, a very progressive Republican mayor.
Yeah.
And then I left the Republican Party, or my allegiance, I'm only a student, during the era of Joe McCarthy. Very upset with that wing of the Republican Party on their communist or anti-communist witch hunt. And then was brought back into it by Elmer Anderson, the governor of the state of Minnesota, who I thought was just a remarkable person, but both conservative on the fiscal side, but very moderate, if you will, on the social side. And I was not nominated by the Republican Party in 1990. I had to run against it, and likewise, I was not even nominated as a city governor in 1994. Yeah. So for them to claim some hold on me, and I'm talking about the organized Republican Party, is a little bit silly.
So perhaps you fell outside of their box like Tom Warner does.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, I was at a fundraiser last night in Edina, and I read like the who's who of the old Republican Party. Yeah. I mean, who would have thought that the Pillsburys would be outside? Well, they're outside now, too.
What were some of the most striking comments you heard last night at this fundraiser?
Oh, I think it for moderates to be non-Republican has been normal for the better part of 10, 12, 15 years. So nothing. But there were business leaders and everything.
Have you taken grief from the Republican Party for the endorsement yesterday?
Well, of course, Tony Sutton and, that little propaganda machine. And they
What they
said,
said to you?
oh, it's the usual, you're a traitor, Benedict Arne. I mean, all sorts of silly things. That's so silly. If I were to die tomorrow, the deficit wouldn't go down 1 penny. Why not discuss the deficit? And then why not be truthful and answer the question I did raise with them? Why don't you enforce the law requiring the governor to submit the balanced budget for 2012 and 2013?
Yeah.
I mean, since when? I thought we were the party of law and order. Why are they so silent on that?